The new revelation. 1. The Ice Temple. 1. The lion spoke these words, standing in the temple of ice, "Now is the time our apostles go out, to cleanse the word." And he took a book, and burnt it. 2. Then he directed himself to the east side of the heavens, in the domain called Script, and he spoke to break the seal of the lions. Then a raider, who was sitting on a lion, appeared, calling like a trumpet. 3. In its one hand, he had a small wooden bed, and in its other hand, a copper balance. He was followed by a large group lions. 4. The lion, on which he sat, was red, and wild. Terrible, its name was. From the mouth of the lion 7 blue flames came to digest the surface of the earth. 5. Then I heard the cries of millions. They kept themselves hidden under the ground, and they had ships on sea. 6. Then a voice spoke. Now the judgment has reached the interior of the ground, and the sea. Then I saw another lion appearing, more terrible than the previous. 7. On its back he carried a scale of ice, from which insects originated. They started to drink of the waters, and the waters started to burn. 8. The lion was blue and clear, and from its mouth a shark originated. The shark swam to the sun and guzzled it. 9. Then stars of ice started to fall, and some arrived on the ground. These were the days in which the temples of ice started to open. 10. They started made to glorify the name of God, and started to stand on their legs. In the middle of the heavens, a woman was in pains of birth giving. 11. Terrible was her battle, and she gave birth to a purple child. In birth giving she died, and her soul was carried to God. 12. The name of this woman was Metenza, the miraculous one, and she was given to the Spirit of God, her man. The child grew up, and became large. 13. And her name was Marian, and she joined herself beside her brother Michai. In those days the axe fell, the large snake, from the heavens. He had been also gestured by Metenza. 14. And Marian and Michai lamented for 7 months concerning their fallen brother. Pay attention then, so that you will know the secret. 7 large horns he carried, to seal the last of the days. The breaking of the horns. 15. And a large panther appeared in the midst of the heavens, and he started to send out his raiders. And then God spoke these words, "The last days of the market have come." 16. This one will become very large, and then it will fall. The market has made slaves, but I will set them free. I will plant a nipple in their chest, from which milk of my spirit will flow to set them free. 17. I will give them the nipples of freedom, and I will lead them to the temple of ice. And then the first horn started to rise against the saints, to pierce their hearts. 18. And God spoke, "From the wound the nipple will rise. Fear no evil therefore. The nipple will crash the horn." 19. And I saw a nipple, rising like a tower, and milk and honey began to flow over the heads of the saints, and the prophets. And they prophesied for 40 months. 20. And then I saw the second horn rise, to boast against the saints. And suddenly he pierced their stomach. The wound was very large, and blood was streaming to the waters. I saw a bitterness growing in the heavens, and the martyrs begged for vengeance. 21. The earth started shaking, and swallowed the rivers, but the seas began to grow larger. Then the large shark spat the sun out over the earth, and there was dryness for 8 years and 6 months. 22. And a black lion rose up from the insides of the earth, and he gave a second nipple to those with the stomach wound. Then there was a silence of 38 hours in the heavens. Then the woman of cat-likes fell away from the heavens, like thunder and lightning. First the axe, the large snake, started to eat her, but in his abdomen she started to laugh, and ate him from the inside out. 32. Then many voices of heaven came. 33. A fox named Zurastal started to appear at the heavens, and began to write his name in the heads of those who had the 4 nipples inside. Chapter 2. The Holy Tale. 1. And a purple animal started to hate Marion, and took her to him to finally leave with his seed. 2. She had hid a small number of nights, but their shelter got discovered and destroyed. When their blood touched the earth, it turned into seed, by which wealthy trees grew. Also nettle plants came forward, and thorn bushes with the flowers, and the blossom of spirit. 3. In this, the house of the martyr, called Marion, came forward, as a gate, to the temples of the ice of heavens. 4. In those days the fox came to guide the saints, on Marions paths, those who had the wound of Marion, in their souls, whose backs were broken. 5. And the 5th nipple began to grow, at the end of their spines, at the Cossacks, and turned into a sacred tail. And they began to weep towards the heavens. 6. And they came to the domains of Spruct, at the east side of heavens. And the sacred tail began to write in their souls words from sacred books. 7. When the 6th nipple appeared, there was thunder from the heavens. And the shark spoke these words: Blessed are those who have come to Spruct. 8. Then he directed himself towards the west of heavens, to the domain of Zetonia, and spoke words to break the seal of sharks. Then a shark came from the north of heaven, and to him was given the power to deceive the disciples of the woman of cat-likes, and those of the purple beast. 9. The days of the blue shark have begun. Let the earth shiver. 10. And the shark brought them to a cellar below the house of Marion, where he imprisoned them, and sealed their chains by unspeakable words. 11. The large shark of the heavens has risen. Who can escape from it? 12. In those days the Amphitheates were on earth, to bring honor to the purple child. 13. But a cloud took them away, and brought them to a hidden place. 14. They were shown the secrets of the 7th nipple, and they went in grace of speaking. 15. You have come closer to God, by the burning ice, in whose presence you cannot speak. You have come near to the assimilation. 16. And again books were burnt, and those who were there went in grace of speaking. 17. Do you know the names of the 7 large spirits dwelling before the face of God? 18. Do you know the names of the 7 spirit eyes of God, and of the 7 nipples of spirit? 19. One of them is Motis. And blessed are those who have come near to Spruct. The Song of Motis. 20. Motis water plant, reaching towards the end of the sun. Motis miraculous outreach, reaching towards the end of the sun, there where the ice begins, and there where the ice ends, there where the ice burns, like a torch in the night. 21. Motis water plant, reaching towards the end of the sun, and blessed are those who have been drawn to Spruct. Motis miraculous outreach, bursting out from day to day. 22. Roots reaching towards the bottoms of the sea, growing towards the end of the sun, Motis water plant, where the ice burns, like a torch in the night. 23. Bring me before the face of him who knows and understands day and night, of him who understands the paths through darkness and light. 24. Teach me daily to understand your voice. Bless those who hold on to the ice, there where everything burns. 25. Blessed are those who are filled by ice and spirit, swimming. Lead me through, don't abandon me. only you know the heart of the Father, O Spirit before God's throne. 35. Give me the visions of a new day, the burning ice in your heart. I know myself as hidden in you, you know all my grief. 36. You surround me, also my dry tongue. You bring my heart to the waters of life, grow into me, O Spirit of God, make me familiar with your holy advice. Chapter 3. The Animals of Heaven. 1. And I got ear-zooming, and hand-tingling when I was down into the heavens, and saw God's temple of ice. 2. And lions of the heavens came to me, to guide and guard me. They spoke to me, these words and images were sacred, and they had to be written down, to prepare a new bloodline of ages. 3. They led me to a house of heaven, where the sharks of heaven were. 4. And the words they spoke were wet, and moisty, prepared to be drunk, and my ears started to beep. 5. I heard the zooming of heaven, and I saw the different directions before me. 6. And a voice spoke, speak, so that the judgment can come, which is the judgment the earth is waiting for. 7. And thrones were rising from their positions, and sharks and other animals of heaven started to sit on them. 8. And wine started to stream, and drunkenness fell on the animals, so that they could judge the lights of the earth. 9. And I got letting while books were opened. 10. The words of the earth were cleansed, and tested to the words of heaven, and again books were burnt. 11. And I saw hidden words being revealed, and they had to bear the responsibility for their works. 12. I also saw languages and cultures appear before the thrones of the animals of heaven. 13. The woman of cat-likes had been thrown outside the gates of heaven, and after that they threw her in the lake of ice. 14. Then the shrieking stars fell away from the heavens, and they touched the earth to persecute those who were living on the earth. 15. And they were looking for rest, but they couldn't find it. 16. And a voice from the heavens spoke, the giant has been conquered. Blessed are those who understand the secrets of the seventh nipple of spirit, those who drink from the holy milk, for they will approach satisfaction, and the waters of rest will stop them. 17. Cursed are those who try to quench the nipples of spirit, and to make them sad, for ice and sulfur will crash their heads. They will be broken down into the fire of Eminius, the sacred lion, before the face of God. 18. Blessed are those who expect God, and blessed are those who know and understand His Spirit. Chapter 4. Eminius Day. 1. These are the words of Eminius, the sacred lion, before the face of God. He had tables of ice, and scales of ice, from which insects were coming. 2. He had arms like those of an octopus. Hear the word of the Lord, for from now on no one can open without locking, and no one will create without breaking down. 3. I will show you the rope of truth, when you stay in me. These are the words of the sacred Eminius, who burns of ice, as a torch in dark nights. 4. And when the Black Panther starts to run, and the glasses start to break, then the slaves of the market will be set free, for I didn't prepare you for slavery, but for freedom. 5. And in the dark hole, you will find freedom. Like a panther I will gather my seed. 6. I will show you my wounds, and I will crown you as an amphitheatre. The secrets of these days are large. Blessed are those who know and understand them. 7. There will be a day of Eminius, a day on which everything will be sacred. This is the day that the ice will burn. It will not burn away your stomach anymore, but it will be to your healing. You have come closer to the fruits of the blue tree, where my chai had been given life. Script. 19. And yes, there will be a day on which your hands and feet are bound together by the sixth and the seventh nipple. 20. Yes, by their eternal cords, you will be like a fish in the water, having the sweet wounds of my chai. You will be carried to the angels of the winds and cool waters, and they will love you, because you have brought comfort to the heart of God. 21. Yes, angels will serve you, those who have the cords of the sixth and the seventh nipple. 22. And in spirit you will see your hands and feet, and realize that they are with many. You will not be able to hit or touch them, you will not be able to move them. 23. And then you will wait until the Spirit of God touches you, and His winds will bring you into movement. Then you will be like the holy cuttlefish in the water, and rising up like the flying spider to move the stars, and to wash in cool waters. 24. Now you still work on the field, but later you will know enlightenment. You will eat from holy suns, and the ice will rise up in your stomach. 25. O you who have let your feet be bound by eternal cords, you will receive the Spirit boots, and your seed will bring you into movement. 26. Don't be sad about the blood, as it will be holy seed. The tiger will also give birth to you again, and you will be led by your own seed, coming forth and brought forth by the winds of God. 27. Don't be sad when you see the wounds of my chai in your shoulders, as the birds of the heavens will descend on them to lead you on eternal paths. In bliss are those who came closer to Spirit. The day of the altar. 28. And the tiger spoke these words, standing in the holiest temple, on the holy mountain of God, there is a day on which the holy altar has to be revived. 29. This day will be called great. Then the spirits, who had to do heavy work, will be set free. 30. And he broke the seal of the tigers, and directed himself towards the north, where the great shark came from, and said, Now is the day of freedom, for those who worked in sweat and tears. Your blood will become seed, and you will plant trees. 31. Now is the day of rest, and you will find rest on your fields of labor. 32. Your plowshares will be melted to become altars, and you will know the spirits of God, you will call your angels by their names. The sealing of the word. 33. And my chai stood up to lead those of the altar. 34. Great is the day on which the Lord raises his voice to give rest to those of the altar. 35. And when the tiger had spoken these words, an angel with 7 winds in the arms came to seal the words. 36. Then there was rustle, with thunder and lightning, to lock the temple. 37. And those who had heard the word of the Lord's came to rest. Chapter 5. The words of Metenza. 1. And my tongue came into fire, when I saw and heard these things, and a door was opened in the heaven. And I heard a voice calling, Come, for there are many more things which have to be shown. 2. And the sharks of heaven brought me upstairs as by cool waters, and I saw Metenza sitting on her throne. 3. She was bathing in ice, and her glare was like the gold of ice, and she spoke words from a hidden book called the Troadi 4. She spoke the words of Metenza, I am the queen of softness. My name is Ship. My name is Metenza, and live on the sea. 5. I carry this world on 4 fundaments. I work with the rider on the dragon. 15. And then my throat began to burn and tingle, and I heard a voice saying, Drink of the holy ice waters of heaven, for you have to prophesy many more things. 16. And I was given a time of rest, until I reached the new morning. 17. Cool waters of heaven surrounded me, and there were fires in my stomach. These were the fires of ice. 18. And again I drank from the waters, and these waters were sweet. 19. And a staff was put on my forehead, and I saw visions stream from my hands. 20. These visions were bright, as ice, and waters surrounded them. 21. And then I was asked, Do you know the spirits of God? 22. a bitter spirit stood before me, with bitter tears, which had wrapped him like scales. And then I was asked, do you know the bitterness of God? 23. I saw the tears, as thunderstones and hailstones fall on the earth, and rivers began to stream. Then the earth caught flame, and a loud voice spoke, can you still wrap your treasures when Mura visits the earth? 24. And in her arms, she bore a fox named Zura's tail, and spoke, the secret of the fox is huge. In ecstasy are those who know the treasures of Zura's tail. New veins will let them save the blood. 25. And the fox wore his crown, as a helmet made of pure stones, and when he spoke I felt new blood flowing through my veins, and this blood began to burn, like burning ice. 26. And then he spoke saying, your blood will give birth to the seed of ice. It will burn as a torch in the night, to lead those who give rest to rest. 27. Your fear will become like stone, and no one will be of power to break it. 28. Your fears have led you to the ice, and to the book of Zura's tale. 29. And before my eyes, a book was opened with golden letters, in stones, and before my eyes the letters began to change and move, and visions came forth from them. 30. And again Zura's tale spoke saying, you who seek the light, will be sucked up by stone. In ecstasy are those who find the eternal stone, for eternal veins will save the blood there. 31. And pure lights fell on me like cool waters, and I felt ground below my feet, hard as stone, while it was blowing. 32. And a voice of the altar spoke saying, in ecstasy are the dead, who die in Zura's tale, from now on. 33. And I saw thrones of the sea coming up, and altars from the insides of the earth, and I saw graves opening, while the regions and the directions of the wind gave their dead. 34. The sea gave her dead, and the insides of the earth gave their dead, and also the mountains, the rivers, and the nests of birds. 35. Books were opened, and altars caught flame. And a voice spoke saying, this is the day the dead have to be given back. 36. And the lights of the firmaments began to give their dead, and the suns and moons began to spit them out, and bowed. 37. And again a voice spoke, the light of Zura's tale has come, and the darkness was not able to split it. In ecstasy are those who die in him now, for they will find rest. 38. And I saw the market falling like a star out of the heaven, and the market began to scream on the earth to accuse the saints. 39. And they got bitten by scorpions for half of the day. And the merchants began to give their dead. 40. They worshipped the rider on the dragon. This rider had the face of a human. And slave and master, merchant and customer, Jew and Greek, they all bowed for the rider on the dragon in astonishment, saying, who can ride the dragon? 41. How is it possible that a human rides the dragon? And they followed the rider of the dragon, as having a bartender of spirit. 42. And the rider of the dragon came to the fox, and broke its neck. 43. Then a weeping burst forth from the heavens, while women wept for 60 days and nights. After those 60 days, it was spoken, for they will be purified. 54. And the flower of God came to live to devour the seed of the rider of the dragon. And she was given the adornments of the heavens, and she brought drunkenness over the followers of Zura's tale. The fall of women. 55. And I saw a sign in the heaven under which 4 panthers were given life by birth, and they crossed the earth to build the temple. 56. And this temple was full of ice, while lions started to burn, to speak the words of sulfur. 57. And Eminius became a king on earth, and many followed him. And women began to shout and sing, thank to God who has sent his prophet, who changes blood into burning seed. 58. And a hedge of herbs began to grow on earth, and its thorns began to persecute the prophets of God. 59. And women with the herbs of Eminius in their hair tried to lure apostles and judges in traps, while they began to worship the hedge. 60. And the hedge was called the dogage. Since then Eminius started to draw himself back in the desert, and snakes of the fields served him 61. And these days have been called the fall of women 62. And the woman of the dogs began to sing her songs, and sold them, but she was defeated by Michai, without words 63. And 1/3 of the fallen women died, while the other part tried to mislead the predictates, and the hermitates to earthly sin, and prostitution 64. Stand strong in the days of temptation, and leave your possessions behind 65. Sell your wife and children to the spirits of God, so that the Lord will give you the spirit of ice 66. Let then your temple be built by holy attentates, so that you will come to the crown of the amphitate 67. Put then on the spirit boots, you who wear the helmet and the armor, so that you will stand strong in the days of seduction 68. See the spirit boots of Eminius burning with fire and ice lays before you. Then you will see the evil days, flee 69. In bliss are those who have the wounds of Eminius, the lever of the enemy. 70. And those days the name of Eminius became bigger in the heavens. And he brought new wines, bile and molten metals to the altars, in which the new weapons were forged 71. In these days the temples and the altars got big, and from the seed new boots came forth. And these days were big 72. In bliss are those whose heads and hearts are shewed by the spirits of God 73. In bliss are those whose swords and shields have been shewed on holy altars 74. And the lever of the enemy has to be cleaned in the ark of the temple for 7 days and 7 nights, and then it has to be cleaned in the scales of ice for 40 months, and then it has to come back in the hands of Eminius 75. So you have to bridle the horses and the dogs of the heavens, and you will not become a prey to the thorns of the earth 76. And he who pulls the boats will lead you to the ark of lions, yes, for it will be a temple with many altars and many arks 77. And you will not be able to bear the glory of God. Let then the name of Eminius become bigger in your hearts. The race of the Anshelites 78. And I saw that the saints who had the wounds of Eminius had to be shewed for a period of 80 days 79. And the lever of the enemy was gathered, and brought to a separated room in the temple, which was called the chamber of the boots 80. And the boots of the amphitheates had to be cleaned first for 3 days, on the altars of the chamber 81. And those who didn't have the wounds of Eminius were cast out 82. And I heard a voice saying, clean then the boots of amphitheates and exorcists, and clean it with herbs and in scales, with waters of moss and branches 83. And the holy snake of the altar of God blew over the boots, 6 rows of each 30 meters 84. And the Spirit of God came over the boots, and the men began to speak in another language 80. And they carried the wounds and scars of the Lords deep in their bodies and souls, and they were raised missing their parents 96. They had to educate each other, and the Lord was with them 97. They had the least form of contact with the older people of their fate, and the encounters were often in darkness, and with walls in between, and the older ones were often clothed in a purple or dark robe 98. In the nights they were often visited by angels, but they also had to wrestle with the spirits of the abyss 99. They lived in the depths of the heavens to serve the Lord in the secret ice temples 100. And I saw the priests who prepared and cleaned the boots in the wrong way. A fiery flame fell upon them and costed them in a deep abyss 101. And I saw an angel descending to seal the pit with words which could not be uttered, and I heard voices as of thunder. The War Angel 102. And there will be healing in the house of Zetonia, where the saints bath in ice. Here the books are burning, and in bliss are those whose words are shewed 103. And I saw sharks break free who had been locked up in ice cubes for this hour. And they were with many. And the ice had to free the dead 104. And again I saw thrones rising from the sea, in big blue halls, and the angel Sarsha descended, 105. And I saw the many wounds of Zetonia, and Sarsha would lead those, who carried those wounds, to places of rest and healing, where she would wipe all the tears, from their eyes, 106. And Sarsha would be like a shepherdess for them, guarding them against the predators, 107. She would guide them along soft and cool waters, to her home, where holy nights were taken care of by angels, 108. You have come closer to the house of Sarsha, where her sisters take care of the saints, and anoint them, 109. She is the night watch, on the ship, 110. And these were the words of Sarsha: might ere still go, through the bleating of sheep, to bring my loved ones to sleep, and to bring them to my home, 111. And when the lion roars, I still give my beloved ones dreams, 112. Let yourself be guided by my night watch, to the fourth night watch, 113. And she led many angels, and she was as a rock, in wild seas, 114. And her armory was made of the many beasts, and dragons she had defeated, 115. She was a war angel, coming from steaming seas, and her name was Bib. And she led them through the dark ice. 6. Morit. 1. And Morit will not be forgotten. She will return to the Garden of Genesis, in the last of the days, and she will be with the Lord too. Spirit of Santra, salvation of God, raise your voice in the deepest of the night. As a fisherwoman, you will bring her back, from blue waters 3. Morit will not be forgotten. Her flame will burn in the temple. And the fishermen of God will honor her. Her name will be on their boats 4. And in these days the Kerazur will come to the earth, Metenz's cat-like arxels. They are the predators of heaven 5. And Metenz's waters will cover the earth, and the earth will catch flame, and the yellow shark will eat the earth 6. And she will take the saints, and the persecuted prophets, out of their prisons with her birds, the Karsuks and the Putses, and they will be brought to a safe place 7. In Metenz's house, they will rest for 3 days, and then they will be brought to the Garden of Genesis, where they will be reunited, with Morit 8. And they will know Cabernal, the Spirit of God's altar. The temptation of the prophets. 9. In these days new visions will rise to the prophets. And from the altar a spirit will ascend, who is called Fire of Eminius. And this name will be Big 10. And then Eminius will establish himself, in a circle of altars. There was also bread from the altar, which was given to their predators, so that they would leave the saints alone. And the saints had rest, for long days 21. These predators were terrible, and the saints would still shiver, for a long time 22. In blisses to which, the sword of Eminius is given, for he will be able to eat from the tree of life. The fall of the prophets. 23. And in those days, there was the fate of the prophets, and the prophetic races 24. And they often served in the temple, and were sent as predators 25. And the prophets of God, in the desert had a small enlightenment, but they began to shout, to the heaven, how long do our mouths stay sealed, and when will the seal of dogs be broken? This seal was very heavy, and they suffered in fiery pains 26. And the Lord sent an arxel, with small hope. And the arxel spoke, I can warm your hearts, with a small flame, but I cannot treat the wound, as the Lord has bound my hands 27. And a door in the heaven was opened, and a voice behind the door spoke, let them be grafted, on the prophetic races 28. And there was a war, between the prophets, a war as if there was never a war before. And this was called the fall of the prophets 29. And the Lord brought a fire, to the tree of prophets, and there was a cleaning of 80 days 30. And the Lord spoke, no longer will my hand be on the unfaithful prophet. And the Lord brought the fallen prophets to a rock, under the earth 31. And this rock was called the dread of the apostles. The doggish. 32. In those days the Lord let a clock be built in the tabernacle, and the hearts of the prophets came to rest 33. And the Lord spoke these words, the days of the deception of the prophets are over 34. And the hearts and words were tested to this clock. Also books were brought to the altar of the Lord's 35. And the fire of the Lord's consumed them. 36. And the races of the builders came before the face of the Lord's. And the Lord lighted a fire among them to bring cleaning among them. 37. And the Lord moistened the ground of the earth with his spirit, and let the garden of Genesis sprouted up on the earth. And Emmanuel, the spirit of the ark, and the throne, was poured to it, and the winds of fire began to blow. 38. And the consciences of the saints were delivered from the spirits of the waters. 39. These were the days on which the heavens and the earth were created again. 40. In bliss are those who have come to the gates of the shark, the tiger and the lion. 41. And the flesh of kings and fallen ones was gathered, and the snakes of the heavens descended. 42. Also trees of sins and lies were cut off, and there was wood for 7 years in the temple of the Lord's. 43. And a voice spoke, do you know the mystery of the doggage? 44. For at the end of the hedge, the woman of the cat-like sits, and she will rise up one time more to deceive the children of the kingdom. 45. And they will find comfort with the trees of the fields. And the earth was surprised, and in wonder that the great fallen Yom had risen. 46. And in her hand she had a nipple tree, with which she could bind the souls of children. 47. And with 7 false nipples and stars she could seal books and words. 48. And the children prayed to God, begging if he wanted to break the seal of dogs. 49. But the Lord sent his archangel, and this one spoke, I can give your hearts a little light, but I cannot remove the sting, for the Lord has spoken his word. 50. And the children found a little rest. 51. And the Lord led the children to the heart and house of Marion, and their wounds were deep. And deep in the house of Marion, the nipple tree of the Spirit grew, from which the holy milk flew. 52. But the thorns of the Spirit were 61. But they didn't want him around, and he built the holy pillar. Yes, he has given Mura to the earth, the Spirit of God, who was over the darkness. 62. Yes, darkness has been given to the earth by the Lord, so that the doers of evil would be destroyed. Yes, the Lords have established a deceiver with eyes of fire flames. 63. And Michai sent his angel, Sarsha, to the ends of the earth, to bring their destructions, and spoke, yes, the judgment of the Lords is great. 64. And he spoke this, through his spirit, Emmanuel. 65. In bliss are those who have reached the third Atmir, and see the spirit of Zoroaster. And this is a great mystery. In bliss are those who find the gates of heaven under the earth, for they will see Metenza. 66. And you of the fourth Atmir, don't let yourself be tempted to keep the seals of the Atmir. 67. And I saw a great lion appearing in the midst of the heavens, and the temple. 68. And I heard a voice saying, open then now the seal of dogs, to open the scrolls of the third Atmir. 69. And I saw an archangel calling, standing next to the lion. And a white shark of the heavens descended. 70. And he gave a flute of the spirits to the Anphitates who had been faithful to the Lord. And I saw that by the sound of the spirits, the night troopers came. 71. And the archangels came from their holes, and from places where they had been hidden. 72. As for a long time, they had to battle in the sea, and in the inner earth, and under the earth round, for their time to reveal themselves to the saints had not come yet. 73. And they had unknown cords, for a long time, in between them and the ones in bliss. 74. And they had to wage war against the gender of Abbers. 75. And the dogs of Okil were not found in the heavens any more, after the seal had been broken. 76. And they were led by the flute of the spirits to a rock under the sea. 77. And this place was called the grave of the Hermitates 78. And the attentates of God asked the ones who had the flute of the spirits, play for us, and take us with you to the night Rupers 79. And I heard another voice saying, Open then now the seal of the second Utmir. And there was a silence in the heaven of 38 hours 80. And I saw the house of Merion ascending to fill the earth 81. And then I saw a spirit coming from the altar to break the seal of the first Utmir 82. And the old Abbers were driven out of the holy cities by the cords of Michai and the Genesis. 83. And I saw a heaving gate opened, and I saw the Genesis hover over the waters in a cloud between the waters, above the earth 84. And I saw a ship named the Dove Balloon. And from this balloon the archangels of Metenza came to spread themselves as nets over the earth 85. And they were called the Putses, the Karsuks and the Kerizur 86. And in these days Cabernal, the spirit of the altar, began to grasp the disciples of Michai, and began to pour out on all souls 87. And drunkenness fell on the night Rupers, and the holy fire grasped the first ones of Merion 88. And these came from a great tribulation. The temple of Metenza 89. And I came to the temple of Metenza, where the waters of flowers went through tubes, and where the flames of the holy fruits were 90. And I saw Metenza, the Spirit of the Lord, bathing in the temple bath. And her altar brought forth watery sounds, and so I was in the cloud of the Lord's 91. And I saw her becoming a city, and a region, a field of the Lord's, where the saints could live for eternity 92. And she wiped all their tears away. And the inhabitants of the city sang a song, which only they knew 93. And Metenza led them in drunkenness to the deeper forests of her spirit 94. And no one could live in her city but the ones who bore her seal. And this sign was a watermark 95. And Metenza began to pour out, I want to suffer with you, and to die with you, to reach your heaving gate. The victory isn't of worth to me 107. I want to live in your heart, O Lord, and drying all your tears, and bear them ever again 108. Eminius, lion of the past, I want to know your war secrets, and laying down my own weapons 109. I want to burn my books, to read your books 110. And I saw the times of Eminius, and before that the times of Metenza. And these were the times of the Lord. At Metenza the Lord gave birth to the snakes of the heavens 111. I also saw the times of Cabernal, far before these creations 112. And Cabernal became great, as a city of the Lord's, and those who dwelled in the city drank the tears of the Lord's 113. And there was rest in the tears of the Lord's, and the Lord showed the blossom of his heart. In those days the world ships were on the earth, and they wrapped each other with jewelry of old stories 114. And the Lord made known all his tears, and great rest came to the gates of Cabernal 115. And the fire of his tears began to wash the earth. These were the days of the burning, so